Blimey, where to start? It boggles my tiny mind. Well, let's concentrate on the Johnson household, shall we? Sure, why not? Because Dominic Cummings has stuck his oar in, talking about his wife. I mean, Sky Sports should actually be putting this on, like pay per view. There are reports that Lord Geit, Bodger's independent advisor on ministerial interests, is considering his position. He's taken up yoga. Not Lord Geit considering his position. Where will we get another anti-establishment watchdog like Christopher Edward Wollaston Mackenzie Geit, Baron Geit? You see, Bodger previously assured Lord Geit, a former private secretary to Her Majesty the Queen, for crying out loud, that he did not know who was paying for the refurbishment of his temporary flat. Asked who is doing the spending for the refurbishment of your temporary flat, Boris said, didn't know. But, and it's a huge, giant wobbling but, that part is true. You see, an official report by the Electoral Commission yesterday revealed that Prime Minister Bodger had texted Tory donor Lord Brownlow in November asking for more works to be signed off, as in paid for. What? Actually asked for the money, he did. The findings opened the door for yet another probe into Wallpapergate, exposed by the Daily Mail.
Disgusting.
Can we skip to the part where the investigation says that there's nothing to see here, and please move along, or Priti Patel will slap your legs. Oh, they're going to have an investigation. Can't wait. Who are they kidding? So the Commission fined the Conservative Party £17,800 for failing to declare donations properly over the saga. Oh, that'll teach them. 17,800. That's what they drop on lunch. Not each. I mean, that would be insane. But, you know, if a few of them get together. 17,800. It's a light slap on the wrist and asking very politely if they wouldn't mind not doing it again. Dominic Cummings, who was in Downing Street when the expensive redecoration works were being planned for the living quarters above number 11, has waded in again. Do you remember Dominic Cummings? No! Yes, that's him. Well, he is the weirdly shaped gift that keeps on giving. He wrote on Twitter that he had told the PM in extremely blunt and unrepeatable terms in January and the summer of 2020 that, quotes, his desire for secret donations to fund wallpaper, etc. was illegal and unethical. And you know what the difference between illegal and unlawful is? Do you know the difference between illegal and unlawful?
Absolutely not.
No, he doesn't. I do. Do you? Where am I? Oh yeah, Twitter. This is what we're reduced to now. Bloomin' Twitter. So Dominic Cummings wrote on Twitter that the PM shouldn't ought to do it. It's illegal and unethical and against the law to get somebody else to pay for his, paint and paper, and bloomin' scatter cushions, and I've got no idea. And you know what? If there's anyone who knows a thing or two about what is illegal and unethical, it is Dominic Cummings. It's part of his expertise. Dominic Cummings said Bodger pursued it throughout the year, trying to keep me and others in the dark, and lied to Geit CCHQ, that's Conservative Party headquarters, to cover it up. He said, I have said repeatedly for months, obviously the PM lied to Geit. Geit could only conclude, as he did, by not interviewing anybody actually involved with the flat. So it was a thorough investigation that left no stone turned in the process of coming to a verdict of not guilty. I mean, come on. What was the nature of that investigation? You, the accused, are you guilty? No. Oh, well, no further evidence is required. Off you go, sunshine. God, Britain's jails would be empty if that was the criteria. And then Megamind had a go at Bodger's wife. Dominic Cummings said Boris Johnson got a wrong 'un pregnant in Carrie Johnson, who he claims wants to control the country via her husband. And that's my job, said Dominic Cummings. Got you running around on a lead, Bodger. The Prime Minister's former chief advisor, who left Downing Street last December after losing a power struggle with Carrie Antoinette, claimed the decision to marry Carrie was an inevitable disaster.
Warning, warning.
Yeah, a disaster for whom? I wonder. Maybe all parties involved. I mean, on past form, it's got to be a disaster for at least Carrie, unless she likes open marriages. I bet every woman that Bodger's ever gone out with thought, well, he won't be acting like that with me. I'll settle him down. No straying on my watch. How did that go, by the way, ladies?
Stressful.
Yeah. In a Q&A on his blog, where he urged subscribers to ask me anything, Dominic Cummings said of Boris, he's a shambles. But the shambles has been made worse by hooking up with a wrong 'un, Carrie Johnson, who wants to control the country via him. He got a wrong 'un pregnant, listened to her insane advice and screaming, and went into a flat spin. Seriously, it should be on pay-per-view, shouldn't it? I mean, how much would you watch to see them actually go at it? Let me rephrase that. Cummings and Johnson going at it with fisticuffs rather than anywhere else that your mind just went.
Disgusting.
Awful. God, I feel like I need a shower now. Cummings claimed that Boris Johnson throws everybody under the bus. Yeah, and not one of those pretend model buses that he makes out of beer crates. Throws everybody under the bus to save himself, he said, but predicted Tory MPs will wield the axe in 2022, saying, I know 15-year-olds who would do a better job at PM, in all ways, than Boris, except given a speech. He can't actually do anything other than the words BS side of things. He's done, gone by this time next year, probably summer, he said. Summer? We might not still be here by the summer at this rate. This country, by the summer, will have been sold off to G4S or Serco or as a Trump golf resort, and it'll have been sold for cash, of course, off the books, and Bodge will be holed up on a solid gold yacht off the coast of the British Virgin Islands, and he'll still be telling us he acted in accordance with the rules. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Cummings insisted that he believed the PM knew about the Christmas party on December the 18th, and he may have even seen it unfolding before his very eyes if he wasn't at Chequers. He said he knew, but I think he didn't attend. Though remember the geography. To get upstairs, he has to walk past that area where he could see it. They're having a party. He was lying, he said. There were invites sent across Whitehall. It was an organised party. The trolley is Bodger. Trolley with a wonky wheel. Just keeps smashing from one side of the aisle to the next. That's perfect. The trolley knew this and tried to lie his way out, but was bleeped by the video. A reference to the Allegra Stratton leak. Leak. Leak being the operative word when Allegra Stratton is concerned. Cheer up, dear. It might never... Oh, no, that's right. It already has. He added in a tweet, did Dominic Cummings, there's lots of pictures of the parties which will inevitably get out and invite lists beyond number 10 to other departments. Oh, blimey, there's more? I don't think I can stand it. I'm exhausted. This government is exhausting me. I'm tired. Tom tweets, I bet Bodger did not think that his crime week would go this well. Yeah, it has been a crime week, eh? He said it was all downhill after he donned a police beanie hat from his dressing up box. Yeah, seriously, Bodge, you look like an oaf in that get-up. I mean, could you not at least get a jacket that's in your size? I think maybe the people around him who facilitate these ridiculous photo ops, they're maybe not his best friends. They're maybe not acting in his best interests. I mean, I know his thing is to appear unkempt, but not bursting out of your uniform like that. I mean, that was embarrassing. Crime Week. Yeah, that was supposed to take our minds off it, by the way. Everything. The whole everything about them. We were supposed to be distracted by that. They were going to come down on middle-class drug users. Yeah, sure they were. Yeah, like it wasn't just another distraction tactic. They were going to take the driving licenses and passports away from middle-class people, the Tory heartland, if they were caught in possession of something that the government decided on whatever given day it is that they didn't like. And at the same time, they'll be instigating passport IDs for you to vote. Just mull that one over for a while. Northfleet. Hello, Tony.
Good evening, Mr. Abbot. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I need your help in one way.
Which way?
This way.
Or that way? I can help you in that way, but not this way.
Our so-called Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, in one breath says he has no knowledge of any party or meeting or business meeting in number 10.
Of course not.
In the second breath, what he's saying is no rules were broken.
Yes, so no rules were broken during the holding of the party that did not happen.
So if he does not have any knowledge of a party, how did he know no rules were broken?
Tony, I think that what you are causing here is a nuisance, and you can expect 51 weeks in jail.
Oh, well.
Those are the rules.
Oh, okay.
That will teach you right for being a nuisance. But thanks for the question, Tony. Impossible to answer. And it just keeps coming and coming. The more they try to cover it up, the worse it gets. God, if they'd just come out right at the beginning of all this and said, yep, we're an entitled bunch of old Etonians who've never heard the word no, and we just did what we wanted while we were instructing the rest of you to stay indoors. You knew that when you voted for us. It shouldn't come as a surprise. You knew who I was when you elected me to be Prime Minister of this country. So it's actually on you, but we'll try our very best not to do it again. If they just tried that, or some version of that, cleaned it up a bit, then they might have got away with it. But it's all this, no rules were broken in the holding of these parties, which didn't actually take place. Oh, right, that's clear. New revelations plunge the PM further into crisis after the PM's Deputy Director of Communications, Jack Doyle, is said to have made a thank you speech to up to 50 people who attended the bash on the 18th of December last year.
Thank you.
ITV News claimed that Jack Doyle, then the PM's Deputy Director of Communications, also handed out paper certificates to members of the communications team as part of a joke awards ceremony. Everybody must get prizes. The former journalist has been overseeing the response to the allegations, with Number 10 denying that it amounted to a party. I mean, they can't possibly think that we're still believing their denials. Nobody is believing it. But they've dug themselves into a hole, and they just can't admit now, having denied it all this time. I loved the bit when Bodger said, I'm absolutely appalled to see that video of Allegra Stratton, and I apologise for any offence that was caused by that video. Right. The former journalist has been overseeing the response to the allegations, with Number 10 denying that it amounted to a party. A party, they said.
No.
But an extraordinary leaked video footage of a mock press conference showed Downing Street staff giggling about the cheese and wine gathering, sparking the resignation of spokesmodel Allegra Stratton. giggling. Yeah, first it was all... and then it was... Yeah, please. The gathering, along with another leaving do, where Bodger is said to have given a speech, if you please, is now the subject of an internal investigation by the Cabinet Office. Gosh, well, I wonder how long it'll take them to find no evidence. Isn't it exciting?
No.
Bodge has flatly denied being aware that a party had happened. Something wrong with my mouth? Shall I try that again?
No.
Bodge has flatly denied being aware a party had happened. But the apparent attendance by one of his closest aides raises fresh questions. You know, and his apologists and enablers, they go on TV and they said, well, the Prime Minister has been crystal clear that a party didn't happen. Yeah, he has. Yeah, we know that. We know he's been crystal clear. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Asked if the PM had confidence in his press chief, Jack Doyle, his official spokesman said yes. Is that a no? On whether Jack Doyle had offered his resignation, the spokesman said, not that I'm aware of. Is that a yes? The spokesman also said Bodger retains full confidence in advisor Ed Oldfield after he appeared in the leaked footage that prompted Allegra Stratton to resign. Full confidence. Taxi for Ed Oldfield. Dominic Cummings said on Twitter that Mr. Doyle was a goner, but predicted that Bodger would keep him on staff until after the Cabinet Secretary's inquiry and then use him as the sacrifice. It's the fate of all who gets close to the Sun King. Their wings melt and they go headfirst into the drink.
Booze.
Not that kind of drink, although maybe, perhaps. T texts, Cummings looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. They're both twisted. Yeah. Brian says, Nick, last week you said you passed Downing Street 6 times a week. I thought you did weekends only. Have you got a second job? No, Brian. I do 3 nights. So I go back and forth each night past Downing Street. 3 times 2 is 6. Even Zaphod knows that. Counting with Zaphod.
And 1, 2,
3,
11.
Oh, no. Close. Try it again.
And 1, 2,
yes, 3,
6 million.
No, getting worse. Yeah, I pass Downing Street 6 times a week. I go in and out. I'll do 3 shows. I mean, I don't have to camp here on Friday and they only let me out on Sunday. I do get to leave, you know. Luke texts, evening Nick, Bodger Johnson hasn't resigned yet. That's unsurprising, but he'll be gone before New Year. Hopefully now people will realise that Keir's measured manner is a better option than a fool at these times, but Keir will be facing not Boris, but instead a compromise mix of someone wet and a non-entity. Which non-entity will it be? Place your bets. Sam texts, Nick, things might be bad, but at least they found a way to win the war on drugs. Absolutely. Yeah, that was the start of the week when Bodger went and, did his thing where he dresses up in somebody else's clothes and pretends to do their job. God, absolute clown that man is. And he thought that that's what we were going to be talking about all week long. He said, well, we'll chuck in a few things that, the commentariat won't be able to resist. We'll say we're going to start arresting middle-class drug users. Do you think that's likely?
No.
No, not really, no. But they'll pretend, and they'll pretend that, doing the exact same thing, the war on drugs, the same thing that they've been doing without success for 50 years, if we just do it more, that'll work. They know it's stupid and they know it's ridiculous, but they just threw that at us this week to get our minds off their catastrophic clown show. And, much to my amazement, it didn't work. We saw that dead cat on the table and we just ignored it. Nothing's working for you now, Bodge. We see straight through you. What else have you got? I think at this point it's a war or nothing. Yeah, but that was the beginning of the week and they were going to reposition themselves as the party of law and order. Yeah, despite the fact that they've been in power for 11 years, and so everything that is wrong with this country is their fault, not Jeremy Corbyn. And despite the fact that they defunded the police and the prisons, they sold the police stations, they sold courts, they've undermined judges and are attacking the legal system in every way, shape and form that they can. And then they're trying to kid us that, well, actually, we're the party of law and order. You trust us, don't you? And it was like they just dumped this body by the side of the road to delay our progress, and we just glanced at it out the side of our out of the side of our eyes, and carried on regardless. They must have been very disappointed because that was probably their biggie. Must have taken them hours to come up with that one. Written on the back of a napkin, I bet. Harry texts, Nick, have you noticed all the Tory scandals that have come out since Matt Hancock left? It was happening all along, only they used Hancock as a scapegoat while they could. Now he's gone, Bodger is exposed. Oh!
Disgusting.
Don't even say it, Harry. Don't even think it. Jane texts, Liz Truss had her name thrown in the hat as Johnson's successor. Talking about getting the politicians you deserve. A clown to a muppet. A clown to a muppet. I bet that last caller will be very, very offended by that. That's not a positive thing to say. It doesn't really matter who's going to follow the Bodge. The party's direction is not going to change. It will stay the same. Who is Liz Truss? Well, let's look at her voting record, shall we? This is from the website They Work For You, which is an excellent facility. Liz Truss consistently voted against raising welfare benefits, at least in line with prices. Remember, in almost all of Europe, we have among the lowest levels of welfare. We tend towards the American method, which is winner gets all, and everybody else is in a position of poverty because of their own inaction and stupidity. That's the overall message that you get from America. We are millionaires, and therefore we deserve everything, and everybody else gets nothing. Rather than a sort of more social model, which leads to happier people in, particularly the Scandinavian countries, and most of the rest of Europe have people that are happier than us because the state takes taxes and provides for the people. Here, the state takes taxes and they just disappear. What do they do with them? I mean, seriously, what have they done with all of that money? Anyway, Liz Truss consistently voted against raising welfare benefits, at least in line with prices. Consistently voted for reducing central government funding of local government. Almost always voted for increasing the rate of VAT. Consistently voted against paying higher benefits over longer periods for those unable to work due to illness or disability. Because that's what Jesus wants. And voted for raising England's undergraduate tuition fee cap to £9,000 a year. No! That's Liz Truss for you. So if it's her, the direction of the country is not going to change. It will probably just pick up speed. So, don't expect an improvement anytime soon. Jim texts, according to Michael Gove, he said the Prime Minister has led with clarity and confidence. I just thought you could do with a laugh. It certainly made me chuckle, says Jim. Clarity and confidence, said Michael Gove. Yeah. Gordon says, Margaret Thatcher was the last PM who said what she really thought. It might have been deranged, but the thoughts were her own. No one told her what to say. It may have been bad, but you knew where she stood. And you knew where you stood with her. That's a good point. Yeah. As opposed to these disseminating fools. Liar! Just can't help themselves. They lie and they lie and they lie and they lie and they lie. And what is it that they're covering up? Well, it may be more alarming than you think. I mean, more people than me say that this is a distraction thing. That's we're going to arrest middle-class drug takers. Yeah, sure they are. That's right. They're going to ruin the lives of the people that would traditionally vote for them. Yeah, that's right. They're going to revivify the war on drugs because, doing the same thing that hasn't worked for 50 years will work. They know it won't. They just wanted to talk about something else. They'll just throw anything stupid out there that we can, or that they hope that we will set on like rabid dogs and forget what is actually going on. Maybe there's a bigger distraction than all of this. Maybe there's layers of distraction, like I said before, like that film Inception. Just think, what would Donald Trump do? If he was receiving a lot of grief from protesters, what would Donald Trump do? He'd ban protesting. And that's what they appear to be doing. Or rather, they're going to give themselves the ability to ban any protests they don't like. You'll be able to protest that politicians are underpaid. I mean, they'll leave you right alone if you want to hold up a placard to the effect that politicians aren't paid enough. But criticise the regime and it's jail time for you, sunshine. Because all the while this has been going on and on and on, the Partygate and the Wallpapergate and all of this superficial nonsense, there's a little thing called the Police, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Bill, which is an all-out assault on free speech and the ability to protest this government's actions. And you wouldn't be surprised if you read that about some old Russian satellite state or Saudi Arabia, someplace like that. But not in jolly old fair play Britain. And as the bill edges through the House of Lords, this government has quietly tabled a raft of new oppressive powers to stifle dissent further. But we're not paying attention because we're obsessed with who did or did not go to a party. It's gone under the radar because of Partygate and the PPE racket and the collapse of the NHS and the constant lying and the Brexit woes and pretty much everything else that this government is responsible for. It doesn't matter how they screw up. As long as they can ram through this police crime bill, they'll be in power forever. I mean, if you concentrated really hard, you might even convince yourself that the whole lot of the cascading crises that this lot have engineered has been to pummel us with scandal till we can't take it anymore and we switch off. And then they can do what they want because we've given up. Or, what would Donald Trump do? So, among the things that the government has quietly slipped into the crime bill while we were looking the other way include creating new serious disruption prevention orders or protest banning orders, which can be imposed on people if they have previously been convicted of what the amendment calls a protest-related offence, or even if they've just been to 2 protests in the last 5 years, in which they carried out activities that could have caused serious disruption. The government just this week proposed an expansive catch-all definition of serious disruption, which can be redefined in the future by the Home Secretary of the day. But it's okay in the short term, because we have the kindness and consideration of the current Home Secretary, Priti Patel, to protect us. Protest banning orders. They can require people to keep police up to date on their current residence. They can include restrictions on who people meet, where they go, and when, and their use of the internet. And breaching these conditions could lead to a 51-week jail sentence, an unlimited fine, or both, for being someone who once went to a protest. Wow. I mean, isn't this bigger news than who did or did not go to a party? They also create new suspicion-based and suspicionless protest-specific stop-and-search powers, which criminalise people for carrying items related to protests. No placards? Wrong. One amendment raises the sentence for obstructing a police officer in the context of these new protest-specific, suspicionless stop-and-search powers. Penalty? 51 weeks in prison. That's the magic word, 51 weeks. Not a year, 51 weeks. Then there's new offences of locking on. You know, a technique used by protesters to make it difficult to remove them from their place of protest. 51-week prison sentence. There's that number again. Or a fine, or both. You also get the same thing if you are equipped to lock on. I've got a padlock in my car. I use it at the gym. Will that get me in prison?
Yes.
This don't seem fair. And the offences, of course, are extremely vague and threaten to criminalise not only people who engage in lock-on protests, but a wide range of other acts. I would imagine not even allowed to hold hands. And, of course, it would have outlawed the suffragettes' tactics. You remember the suffragettes, don't you? And just last week, the government added another offence, interfering with nationally significant infrastructure. 12-month jail sentence, or a fine, or both. And what's a nationally significant infrastructure when it's at home? Anything the Home Secretary wants it to be. And this is framed as a response to the Insulate Britain people. But apparently they were talking about this ages ago, long before the group first waddled onto the M25. And it ain't just me that's alarmed. Actual police persons are. Of course, they're ex-police persons, but now they're able to, speak their mind. Mike Barton used to be Chief Constable of Durham, Owen West, a former public order police chief in West Yorkshire, and Lord Paddock, a former Deputy Assistant Commissioner in the Met Police, warned of the pitfalls of this bill in a letter to Priti Patel. They wrote, "We believe that this bill has dangerous and harmful implications for the ability of police officers to enforce the law for the health of our democracy. We are concerned that the police are being instrumentalised for political purposes." And 3 United Nations special rapporteurs have condemned the bill. Parliament's Joint Committee on Human Rights said its proposals are oppressive and wrong. Polling has showed 2/3 of the public are concerned about threats to protest. And add to that the proposal that the government can retrospectively throw out any court judgments it doesn't like, which is the biggest get-out-of-jail-free card in history, and the proposal that the government can take your identification documents away from you if they catch you with something they don't like, and the one about you needing that ID to cast a vote in an election. And this country is beginning to resemble a dictatorship police state. And we've sleepwalked into it because COVID distracts us and Brexit distracts us and his hair and his manner and his whole paw act distracts us. And after all, he's just that funny bloke off the telly. We can trust him, can't we? I mean, he's just doing his best, isn't he?